Entrepreneurship. Let's start by defining the term. Oxford Dictionary defines it as the activity of setting up a business or businesses, taking on financial risk in hope of profit. This idea of small business is the founding of the country in which we live. It's a freedom that's given to all citizens of our country, and that's something that everyone should try and understand. Small businesses make up 54% of the sales in the United States and employ nearly 57 million Americans. I took the time to meet some of the people who run these companies, all from our local Sacramento area. I'd like to introduce you to our interviewees and what they do. I spoke with Paul and Caroline Lasitanola, a married couple who run a business together, and they described their business as...
Our current business is a magazine publication and an events business, and we originally got started into it as a hobby, and then as the business side of it grew, converted it into our full-time business.
My next interview is the next level of business owner, Jim Warren. His business is...
It's Sacramento Rack and Shelving, and we provide storage solutions and helping to make people's warehouses and workspaces more efficient. And I think I decided to start the business when I saw a lot of the competition out there, our competitors, that weren't doing a great job. They didn't take into account safety, their customers' needs. They were just trying to sell their shelving. They weren't really trying to come up with a full solution that would best serve their customers.
My third and final business interview was with Eva Hill, who runs...
The name of my company is Venture Oaks Real Estate Group. So my current business is in commercial real estate. We do real estate sales, and we're also developing a hotel.
These three businesses have become successful in Sacramento because of these four entrepreneurs. Becoming an entrepreneur is not easy, and most end up struggling or failing in their ventures. When asked about what they thought would make a good entrepreneur, our interviewees were all of the same mindset. They said that entrepreneurship is not the easy way out, and people who view it like that will never succeed. Independently, they all said that the type of person needed to start a business needed to have these qualities.
You gotta definitely work hard. So you can't be lazy. You have to ask for help from others and trust them, and so you have to be a trusting person, a hard worker, and be willing to take risks. So a risk taker also.
All right, and my last question for you was, when you started this company, how many hours a week were you working for maybe your first 5 years?
Let's say whatever 20 hours a day would be for a week.
That's kind of what I was expecting.
A lot, and then you wake up in the middle of the night because you forgot to do something, and you catch up, and weekends. So
it's quite the investment.
It's the investment in time for sure. I didn't start with much money invested in it, but it was a lot of sweat equity, you could say.
All right.
I think, like Caroline said, you need discipline, perseverance, a little bit of a risk taker. You've got to balance that risk though. But discipline and being willing to work even when you don't want to, because I think that a lot of people that do fail in business are because they think that, or being business for yourself, is that you do think, well, I see that guy and he never works, but you don't see the midnights that he's up till, or that it is a lot of work. And so having that discipline and having that work ethic that you get up and make it happen is vital, because I think too many people just coast or don't save their money for their taxes, or they're just too undisciplined, and they see it as an easy street, and it is not an easy street.
I would say someone that is a go-getter, someone that wants to achieve something, that has a goal, that has vision, that is willing to do whatever it takes to make something happen. Definitely takes discipline, because no one is telling you what you have to do. So you have to have the personality type that requires the best out of yourself without someone demanding it of you. An independent person.
I would say a little bit of experience under their belt of working in a business, not just doing the trade. Like if you make pies, making pies is not the way to do it, but making pies and selling them and ordering the supplies and billing your customers and running the business, you need a little experience alongside somebody that showed you the ropes before you jump right out there and do it.
So you may be asking yourself, once you distinguish yourself as someone who is able to fulfill all of these requirements, you may ask, why would you take all the risks and extra hours to pursue self-employment? And when asked what made our experts make that leap, make that decision, here's what they had to say.
I had done the traditional career path, and I just preferred having my own destiny. You run something yourself and you're in charge. It's a lot more work than going to a 9 to 5, but the reward can be worth the extra effort for sure.
We have always wanted to do something on our own, but we had specific parameters of what we would do and what we wouldn't do from other experiences in business. So things like no commercial rent and no employees, and we had all these standards that we had to fit within, or we didn't want to do it. We didn't want to have a business with a lot of employees or a lot of overhead or a lot of debt or things that we couldn't be in control of. So we fashioned our business around that model, around those standards.
Well, I did the corporate career job for 25 years, and I would make a paycheck, and once in a while I would make a bonus. But when I got ready to leave, I realized I had made a whole bunch of money for the owners, but not for me. So after 25 years, I looked back and I said, wow, I made a lot of money for them. And the minute I stopped working, my paycheck stopped. So I decided to start my own business.
They also discussed with me some of their favorite parts about where they're at now and why they love what they do. They said,
I think the biggest advantage is probably being proud of doing everything really well and having a great team and being proud of them. So I think that's what I'm most proud of is my team and how we all work together.
The biggest advantage to me is when we work a lot, but we don't have to show up necessarily every day. So it's not like working for yourself is easy at all. It's not. It's hard, and you've always got to be what I term as leaning forward. You've always got to be pushing. If you're not growing, you're dying. And so the advantage to me is we can work real hard in spurts, but then we're not obligated to show up for a 9 to 5 if we don't want to or need to. So the freedom to a degree. We've also fashioned our business around a hobby, so we get to play in the hobby and call it work. So we're pretty fortunate in that respect.
I would say the advantages are you can take it as far and as hard as you want to. If you need to take care of family issues or you need to do something, you have the freedom to go do it. If you want to grow your business and work 20 hours a week, you can do that. And just there's the advantages, I would say, is just the freedom.
You're in control of your destiny. So that can be good and that can be bad. If you make mistakes, there's nobody there to pick them up for you. And but if you do really well, you can do a lot better than if you were just working a 9-to-5 job.
These things all sound great, but when they begin to discuss the drawbacks that entrepreneurship has had on their lives, it seems as if there was a fair price to pay to get all of those benefits.
That you are on 24/7. You know, you're always working, if you will. You know, we've always got to be thinking about the customer. We've always got to be thinking about our image with the customer. You're just always on. You know, you between answering phones or answering emails, it's you know, it's nonstop. Like I say, when we work hard, but it goes on. I mean, orders continue to come, thankfully, but that might mean shipping orders on Sundays sometimes, or whatever the case. But just that you're always on, you've always got to be pushing and promoting and growing and moving the business forward.
I would say discipline. You don't have a safety net whenever you are working for yourself. When you work for someone else, you have retirement, you have health care, you have all of these benefits that come often with a full-time job. I was a teacher before, and that came with a lot of retirement and health care provisions. You don't have that when you work for yourself. So it requires extreme amounts of discipline. You have to put money away for retirement. You have to put money aside to pay for health care. And so you really don't have that safety net that you might have when you work for somebody else.
Oh, I would say, especially these days, the liability issues and wondering what could happen. So you always have to protect yourself, not knowing, you know, what could be something that could cost you a lot of money or maybe even put you out of business. So protecting yourself from liability and making sure you have all your permits in place and insurance and everything.
To end off the interview, they each gave separate advice to someone who is looking to start out in self-employment. And I'd really like you to take a listen, because this is very important to hear and to understand what an industry expert has to say.
Obviously, have your insurance in place. Make sure you're following all the requirements from the bureaucracies, I guess you could say, and stick with something and stay with it. Go into it if that's what you think you're gonna go with. Go in hard and just stay with it.
Do it. Do it without debt. Do it sooner than later. Do it even if you're not perfect at it. Get started. Go for it. Try something. Fail. Try again. Don't go in debt.
And I would say find people that can encourage you in what you want to do. Look at people that are doing similar things or have done similar things. There's lots of people out there doing stuff that you might want to try. Look them up on the internet, see what they're doing, call them, talk to them, interview them. People are willing to share and help young people, and anyone that's willing to put the work in, people are usually willing to rally behind.
I would figure out what you love to do and that you're good at, and then try to find a job in that field. That's number one. Okay? Maybe even if you're not even that good at it yet, but you love to do it, and you think you could be good at it, you know. But it's got to be something that realistically you could be good at. For example, if you wanted to be a ballet dancer, you're probably not going to ever be a ballet dancer, you know, in the Nutcracker. Well, maybe, but, you know, but you could do anything to do with you know, IT and tech and all that, because, you know, that's what you're good at. So you pick something that's likely to work. And then get a job with somebody who is successful and that you can learn from. You don't want to go get just a hamburger slinging job or a back-breaking job unless it's at the bottom of the pile of the company that you want to get to the top of the pile.
When talking to these entrepreneurs, I asked the question of how many businesses they'd started. And the answer might surprise most of you that for most of these people, this was not their first try. And actually, for all of the people that I interviewed, this was not their first try. So take a listen to how many times that it takes to really get a good start in business.
I've done multiple businesses over the years. I used to prepare, even while I had a job, I had side businesses. I would prepare income tax returns, or I would do consulting for people.
All right. And how many businesses have you started over your lifetime before you found something that you were stuck in?
About 5.
5. All right.
5 on and off, from small coffee shops to maintenance company and landscaping company. And so I'm currently running Sacramento Rack and Shelving and Sacramento Forklift. So those two have really stuck. You know, I found my niche, I
And
could say.
what made you decide that those were your niche and that was the path that you were going to take versus the coffee shops?
Good question. I think I realized being in the food service business wasn't for me.
All right.
That wasn't something that I wanted to pursue. And it's much smaller revenue. You know, you're doing everything $5 at a time or $2 at a time, whatever the case may be. So went into this where a lot of our projects can be $100,000 with one project.
All right. And what would be your advice to somebody in my position, just going out of high school or going out of college, who is desiring to start a small business in today's environment?
A dozen, probably, just off the top of my head, 10 or 12.
After watching this video, I hope that you can come to some of the same understandings that I did about small business. Some of the things that I need to work on to get to small business have been uncovered through the creation of this project. Things that I would never have thought of, whether it's like Mr. Warren said about liability, or Mr. and Mrs. Lasitanola said about working and paying attention to how the customer sees you. Things like that are very important when you're going into small business, and I hope that everybody who watched this had a chance to learn something and get a takeaway from it. Thank you. As the video comes to an end, I would like to take an extra second to thank some of the people that I didn't get to have a in-person interview with, but still really helped me with the creation of the video and the research that went into it. The first person I would like to thank is Tim Brown of Tim Brown Painting from Colfax, California. He really helped me understand which direction I really wanted to take it, and helped me understand a lot about where small business is going to apply in my life. The other person I would like to thank is my mentor in the project, Mrs. Stalter, a teacher at VLA. She really helped me stay on track and keep the project rolling forward, even when I was tired and wanted to change directions at the last minute. So I wanted to thank her and thank Mr. Brown, and thank you all as the audience for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Good night.